Our preaching text today is from the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verses 27 to 31. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Blessings and good morning once again. We hear today from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Because of differences in vocabulary, theological outlook, and historical perspective, most scholars believe the book of Isaiah records the words of more than one prophet. As the theory goes, Isaiah chapters 1 to 39 records the words of the 8th century prophet from Jerusalem. In these chapters are stern warnings against Israel and Judah for their wrongdoings, with the threat of exile if they do not mend their ways. In Isaiah chapters 40 to 66, by contrast, the prophet, known as 2nd Isaiah, writes from the heart of the Babylonian exile, some 150 years after the first Isaiah, and declares the promise of return to Jerusalem from the Babylonian exile. After the city of Jerusalem was captured and destroyed at the hands of the Babylonians in the 6th century BC, many Israelites were taken into captivity to the city of Babylon. Babylon stood 55 miles south of present-day Baghdad in Iraq. And it's estimated that up to 18,000 people were taken into captivity to Babylon. These people taken captive, taken into exile, included the political and religious leaders of Israel. The captivity lasted for some 70 years until the Persian king Cyrus defeated the Babylonians and allowed the Israelites to go home to Jerusalem. 2nd Isaiah writes from the midst of the exile and gives hope to those in Babylon, promising an end to their exile. Now it may seem strange, but the Babylonian captivity, the exile, actually strengthened the people's faith in God. Instead of living under a king in Jerusalem, the people in exile began to see God as their true and only king. And because the temple had been destroyed, worship became something that could happen everywhere. Worship was no longer centered in Jerusalem. The exile was also seen as a punishment from God for the Israelites' unfaithfulness. And it was into this time and place that 2nd Isaiah came, preaching comfort consolation, and forgiveness. Second Isaiah assures the exiles as he assures us. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God. He does not faint or grow weary. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. Sisters and brothers, a problem the people in exile grappled with was, if God was so powerful, why had the Israelites suffered such a cruel defeat at the hands of the Babylonians? If God was so powerful, why had the Babylonians been able to destroy the Jerusalem temple, the dwelling place of God? Why? Second Isaiah helps the exiles again find their faith by proclaiming the power of God. God could have given victory to the Israelites. God could have kept the people from being carted off into captivity. Yet the exile helped fashion a more faithful people for God. And now God will return them to their homeland and will again bless them. God is mystery, yet God is all-powerful. And just as God will give power to the powerless in that exile, so God will give power to each of us. Brothers and sisters, if I were to ask this morning, what is the most priceless gift, the most precious gift each of us has been given by God, what might our answer be? The answer, I believe, is simple. The most precious gift, the most priceless gift each of us has been given by God is the gift of our own life. Life is our most priceless and precious gift from God. And let me suggest a compelling spiritual and psychological truth. One of our main tasks in life is to fall in love with the life we've been given. Sisters and brothers, I believe if we fail to fall in love with our own life, we will fail to fall in love with anything or anyone else. Think about this. If I don't love my own life, how can I love the life of anyone else? Yet I fear it's hard falling in love with our life because there are evil forces afoot that hamper us from falling in love with our own life. Certainly, addictions lead people away from a healthy love of one's life. It's estimated that more than 30 million people in our country are addicted to drugs or alcohol. Between 50 and 80% of all child abuse and child neglect cases involve some degree of substance abuse by the parents. 60% of the adults in federal prisons are there for drug-related crimes. I mention this, sisters and brothers, to help us understand the scope of what we are facing when we seek to help heal what needs healing in our community and in our country. Addictions are but one dimension of what needs healing. And addictions can also come as an addiction to gambling, an addiction to food, an addiction to shopping, even an addiction to home decorating and remodeling. Protecting one's job at the expense of others can also be seen as an addiction. Addictions come in many forms. And I'd like to suggest another reason we fail to fall in love with our life is because the spiritual illness of envy infects so much of our society. Brothers and sisters, it's hard to fully love one's life when we look around and see others who have so much more than we have. We cannot turn on the television. We cannot watch an advertisement without being assaulted by a carefully crafted psychological attempt to make us feel envious. We see the rich and the famous, and we wonder why we are not rich and famous. Envy makes us afraid that if someone gets more than we do, then there will be nothing left for us. Now, I don't need to tell anyone here that there are serious imbalances in our country between the rich and the poor. I don't need to tell anyone here that there exists an endless array of injustices across this country. I don't need to tell anyone here that the ideal of equal opportunity is far from being a reality. I don't need to tell anyone here that there are places in our own city where people live, as Judge Murphy stated in her lecture last Wednesday, like people in third world countries. So how are we to respond as Christians? We respond by seeking to cure the injustices we encounter. We respond by seeking to help heal the broken, shattered dreams of so many we encounter. We respond by trying to heal ourselves. What dreams and ideals have we had to relinquish as we make our way through life? How might we heal our broken dreams, our shattered ideals, so we can bring more goodness to our world? And let me suggest that one of the greatest ways we can help heal what needs healing is to fall deeply in love with the life we've been given. This is how the power of God comes to the powerless. God's power is the power of life, the power that sustains all creatures living. Sisters and brothers, it's easy to feel crushed under the weight of the injustices that have happened to many of us, and the injustices we see all around us. It's easy to feel crushed under the weight of rampant inequality. But we must stand against envy as a righteous way of responding to what is wrong. Envy is not the answer. Envy turns everyone into a rival. And the more envy within us, the deeper in hell we become. Instead, we need to help heal one another, heal our broken dreams, help one another make our God-given dreams come true, help one another fall in love with our lives. Brothers and sisters, what greater gift do we possess than the gift of our own life? None. And the way we thank God for the gift of our life is to tell God that we love our life, that we cherish our life and the life of everyone. So I'd like to suggest a small spiritual practice that we can all do every day. I suggest we begin each day with the following simple prayer. God, my loving Creator, help me to love my life. Let me assure us that if we begin each day this way, the rest of the day will be more of a blessing than it would otherwise be. So let's try this together right now. God, my loving Creator, help me to love my life. Perhaps we could do this again with even more conviction. God, my loving Creator, help me to love my life. I like to challenge each of us here to say this little prayer each and every day for the next week. God will help us fall deeply in love with our life. And when we fall deeply in love with our life, everything around us changes. It changes how we see the world. It changes how we engage the world. It changes how we embrace the world. God's power will then empower us. Brothers and sisters, if we fail to fall in love with our life, then we may well experience our life as a failure, regardless what else we may have accomplished or achieved. When we love our life, our hearts become lighter. And as the book of Proverbs teaches us, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a downcast spirit dries up the bones. I don't want to live with a downcast spirit. I don't want to live with dry bones. I don't believe there's anyone here today who wants to live with a downcast spirit or dry bones. Am I right? So I plead, as your pastor, start each day with a simple prayer. God, my loving Creator, help me to love my life. Once again, God, my loving Creator, help me to love my life. The deeper we fall in love with our life, the more God will be able to use us for His glory. The deeper we fall in love with our life, the more God's power will come upon us. And then, sisters and brothers, we will know who God is. Then we will each be able to say, "It is well with my soul, it is well with my soul." And we know that God will raise us up on eagle's wings, that God will bear us on the breath of dawn, that God will make us shine like the sun and hold us in the palm of His hand. This we are promised. So let us cling to this promise today. Let us cling to this promise every day. Amen?
Amen.
Amen.